Good morning, S1. Welcome to your lesson this week. So we're going to be making shortbread, and we're going to make it into Easter shapes, and I'll show you how to do that even if you haven't got something at home to cut it out with. So the first thing we're going to do is put all the ingredients in the bowl, which is 100 grams of margarine and then 50 grams of castor sugar. This guy is wearing a glove because she has a cut on her finger. A bit too much there. So 50 grams, so 100 grams of hard margarine. You can use soft, but you need to, once you've made the dough, then you need to put it in the fridge to harden up a little bit. So something like Stork or something like that. So we'll have the sugar in, and then we're going to add 150 grams of plain flour. So plain flour is good for biscuits because you don't want them to rise. So plain flour, a bit too much. There. So we've got all the dry ingredients in the bowl, and then the first thing we're going to do is to cut the margarine into pieces in the bowl into smaller bits, because we're going to do rubbing in, and you've done rubbing in before. But it's easier to do when you have got smaller pieces of margarine. You cut up the margarine a little bit to make it a bit easier to rub in. So once you've done that, you're going to rub in. Now, this is the technique, so you're rubbing your thumbs over your fingers, and you're going to rub that in until it looks a bit like breadcrumbs. Okay, so rubbing that in, and it will go a kind of yellow colour because the margarine covers the flour. So just keep going. You need to be careful to be lifting it up. You don't want to get too hot because the margarine will melt and it will stick to your fingers and you will end up with a sticky mess. So once you get to this point, you would probably stop, because that, when we've done rubbing in before, this is where we've got, and I would probably come and tell you that that's too stuck together. But for biscuits, this is what you want to happen. So when you get to this point, it will start to stick together. So you just literally keep rubbing and rubbing, just the same technique, and it should all stick together like this. Okay, so this is your biscuit dough that you're then going to roll out. Okay, now if you want to have a wee break after this, you can stick it in the fridge and you can use it in a wee while. But I would cover it in some cling film in case it dries out. Okay, so once it's all stuck together, you're then going to put it out on your floured kitchen bench. Okay, and you're going to make it into a circle, but a kind of flat circle. Now we've got floured edges, but you just take some flour out your packet and put a little bit on the table. It shouldn't be too sticky, and you don't want to put too much on because it will make it too dry and then it starts to crack. So we're going to use the rolling pin, and if you haven't got a rolling pin, then try something else. Like you could use a tin. Okay, and so once you've got it, this amount of mixture should be just a bit bigger than the size of your hand. So it's about the size of my hand, and we want it to be nice and smooth and about 1/2 centimetre thick. And then I've got a few cutters here, but I'm going to show you how to use a cup to make a kind of egg shape. But if you've got some cutters, or you can get hold of some cutters, then you're just going as close as you can to the edge, and you're going to put them on your baking tray. Okay, so I've got some little bunnies here. And a chick, which is quite cute. And you have to be really gentle with it because it's quite a soft dough. Okay, and then I've got an egg shape here, but I'll show you how to do it with a cup. Okay, so if you get a cup and cut out a round shape, okay, and then you just get the cup again and kind of take a bit off it at either side. then you should have more of an oval shape. Okay, don't worry too much about the scraggy edges, but it's just more oval, and you can make these into eggs. Okay, but as I say, if you've got some cutters, some of you might have cutters at home, or you can just do circles. Okay, because then you can ice the biscuits and make and decorate them maybe a bit more fancy than if you were decorating a bunny. So once you've got all of that cut out, I've got no room left for any more. I'm then going to roll it out again. Now, the more times you roll the biscuit dough, the tougher and harder it gets. So it's not a great idea to. You need to be quite efficient with your rolling out and your cutting. Okay, so just be gentle with it, and you want to make sure it's the same thickness. So it's about 1/2 centimetre. Okay, and then you're going to cut them out again. Okay, so we'll have a few eggs there. And we've got some, and then this is probably the third and last time. And just not got much left, so we're just going to do a little bit of flour on there, and again just make sure it's the same thickness, so you haven't got, if you have them different thicknesses, they'll take too long to cook, or they'll be burnt before the other ones are ready. Okay, if you've got any spares, there's always room for a tester, so just break it into little pieces, flatten it into a wee circle, and then you can get these into the oven. So they go in the oven for about 15 minutes on gas mark 4 or about 160. Biscuits are in the oven. Then you can make some icing. So this is water icing, and I'm just going to put a couple of scoops in here, and I am going to add some water, a teaspoon at a time. So I'm going to put a couple of teaspoons in to start with, but you'll find that it doesn't need a lot, and so you need to kind of stir that in. Okay, so at the moment it looks quite dry, so we'll need a bit more in there. Okay, so we'll add a wee bit more, and we're looking for quite a thick consistency. So the consistency really that we're looking for, I'll show that's the important part. But if you put too much water in, then you need to put more icing sugar in, and that's a wee bit more difficult. So I think you can see that's still quite thick, so we'll put another one in. Now I haven't weighed the icing sugar, so it's really just trying to work it out by looking at it and looking at the consistency of it. So we've got, what we're looking for is for it just to fall off the spoon. Now that is actually quite thick, so I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon in now. Okay, and so the consistency that we're looking for is this. So when you say just falls off the spoon, that's the consistency we're looking for. So you're going to, if you want to decorate them with different colours, then I'm just going to separate this into 3 bowls. So I'm going to use a sort of egg yellow. Now the colourings we have at school are really strong, and because I want this to be quite pale and I haven't got very much icing in here, then I'm just using a tiny little bit. If you're using the liquidy ones, then you need to be really careful, because you may need to add a bit more icing sugar because they are more liquid, and then you just stir this in. So you can see how that tiny little bit has made quite a difference to that yellow. Okay, so that's the yellow one, and then I'm going to use a light green, maybe this gooseberry colour. Okay, so it's up to you what colours. I'm just going to do a white, a yellow and a green. You might do a pink, or you might do something else. Depends what colours you've got at home. Okay, so once you've got your colours done, then you're ready for the biscuits when they come out the oven. Okay, so when your biscuits come out the oven, they should be a very pale golden brown round the edges. This shortbread is best cooked at a low temperature for a longer period, so don't put them in at high temperature thinking that they'll be ready quicker, okay, because you want them to have a nice snap, as Mary Berry says. So I'm using a fish slice to get these off. Just leave them to cool on the tray for a little bit before you take them off, because when biscuits are ready, they are slightly soft. Okay, so if you take them off immediately, they'll probably break. Okay. All right, so we've got them in the sink, and you don't need the oven gloves. Okay, so we're going to leave them just to cool for a little bit, and then we are going to start doing the icing. I've got some piping bags here, which are just obviously you can buy them and you can cut the top off them to make them any particular width that you want. So for what I'm going to show you today, then they need to be quite small. Now, if you haven't got any, if you haven't got a piping bag, then you can use a sandwich bag, okay, like this, and you can just cut a little bit off the corner, and then you put the icing in and hold it like you would that. Or I don't know if anybody's got any of these at home. They're also quite nifty for putting the icing in as well. Okay, so to put the icing in, we are going to just scoop this in. So I've got yellow, green and white to decorate. Okay, and I'm just going to put this into the piping bag. Now I'm going to show you just a few techniques first before I actually go on to the biscuits. Okay, so the icing is in the bag, and I'm going to use my left hand because I'm right-handed, and you're going to use your hands a bit like a clip-it thing that you would put at the top of a bag, and you're going to squeeze that down to the bottom until it starts to come out. Now there are various things you can do with this. So you're holding this has got to be really tight at the top, okay, so that the icing does not go up the bag rather than down to the bottom. Oops. Okay, and you're just going to squeeze from the top. So you're not going to squeeze like this, right, because half that icing is going to come out the bottom, the other half is going to go up the bag. Okay, so you're squeezing from the top. All right. If you want to do dots, then you squeeze and then you go down and back up pretty quick. Okay, and then you can obviously do different sizes of dots depending on what you want to do. Okay, you can also do lines. Now if you do it really quickly, right, you'll end up with something like that. So you need to go quite slowly. Okay, when you want to stop, you go down and back up. Okay, so these are the techniques that you're going to do onto your biscuits. Okay, and I'll just sort that out.